Hello everyone, good evening and welcome to the 5th round of the Radical Race series. My name is Daniel Handover and I will be talking you through all of today's commentary. My co-commentator, Ewan O'Leary, is actually on holiday at the moment, so he will be back with us next week, do not worry, but for this week it will be myself. Red Bull Ring's an interesting circuit, isn't it? Let's be honest, it's had some fantastic racing, another new circuit for the drivers in this car. What we're doing as well is we're following the official series within the actual Radical Race series, the official one on iRacing. So it is following the calendar. So drivers may have had an opportunity to do a little bit of testing with some official race series. But obviously for us, league's slightly different. Everyone knows the drivers, which is always a positive. We're going to quickly look through the championship standings before we do get right into qualifying, which has actually just started. So we will get on that in a few moments' time. You'll probably be able to hear a few cars starting to make their way around now. But let's have a quick look at the championship standings. And as we can see here, so Simon Edwards still leading the way with 128 points. Luke Maxwell, he's had a very, very good first quarter of the season, first third of the season, I should say, sorry, on 115. The only two drivers within or having 100 points or more. Dominic Webb in P3, not the best race that he had last week, certainly will be wanting more this time out, although I can't actually see him in the session, which is a little bit concerning. Hopefully we will see him soon. Paul Crabb in 4th, Jamie Bird in 5th, John Hutchison 6th, Paul LeMay 7th, Colin Wynn in 8th, Oliver Etcheridge 9th, and then Mike Busson in P10. It's very, very close in that midfield from Jamie Bird all the way down. I mean, only 20 points separate from 5th to 12th. Considering we are at the first third of the season, it seems that this is going to be the way moving forward. It is going to be close as the season progresses further. Obviously, we are at race 5 now, so we're nearly at the halfway point. So now that we've looked at the championship standings, let's dive into qualifying. So as we go through now, drivers will be just getting their times or their first times on the board. We'll be starting in a few moments. It is open qualifying this time out. So all drivers will be out. Normally we run a lone qualifying system, but all drivers are going to be out on all together out on circuit at once this time around. Darryl Taylor, one of the first drivers to cross the line. I think he's actually the first driver out. You've got Damien G that's a couple of cars behind him. And I think that is Paul LeMay a little bit further back. It is indeed Paul LeMay that's a little bit further back, only half a second or so. Slipstreaming is going to be a factor into here that drivers may want to start using. If they can get, I think Paul LeMay, he's within distance. It might be a little bit tricky to gain and much of an advantage. And the other thing is what you've got to be worried about is if you are too close to the car in front, through the infield section here, you will actually start losing a little bit of speed because you won't have the downforce. A little bit wide there from Paul LeMay, but tyres were just getting up to temperature. As with anything, as always, within these radicals, it was the same with the old ones, it's the same with the new ones. It always just takes a little bit of time to get into the rhythm of these cars, and it takes a little bit of time for the tyres to warm up and get up to temperature. But drivers will be starting, their first lap times will be on the board in a few moments' time. Also got to be conscious of, we nearly saw there, see, track limits are going to be a big factor here as well. Paul LeMay getting it very, very close, but managing to stay through. Here come the first times. So here we go. That is Darryl Taylor setting the benchmark with a 125.5. Paul LeMay second, currently with a 126.9. This will all change as well. Obviously, we've only had two drivers have a setting in lap time. Damien G, you can just see it goes on the board there. Luke Maxwell straight away. Look at that. Half a second pulled out on Darryl Taylor with a 124. It's the first 124 we have seen. Interesting enough, I've not seen Simon Edwards. I've not seen John Hutchinson. So Luke Maxwell is certainly going to be somewhat in position to fight for pole. We see another couple of drivers coming into play. Now, Michael LeMay wasn't able to set his first lap. We see Graham Brown just goes up into 5th place. Yeah, Michael LeMay, his first lap didn't actually count, which would be a little bit of a concern. Colin Wynn goes up into 4th place provisionally. Yeah, a couple of drivers, they will have been hitting track limits, which will be a concern for them. They need to make sure that they avoid those track limits, obviously, because otherwise it will just completely invalidate the qualifying, and then you'll put yourself in a position which won't be a particularly good position that you'll put yourself in, because obviously you want to make sure that you can get a qualifying time on the board. I think Michael Moe is just letting a couple of cars go then. One of which is going to be Darrell Taylor's just about to come across the line. Does he improve and does he get past? He's very, very close to Luke Maxwell. Look at that, only 300ths of a second now. But here comes Luke Maxwell. Last couple of corners to negotiate. That was very wide. He might get away with it though as he comes down the last corner. You can see loading the front of the car up. What is it going to be across the line? Is it going to be Luke Maxwell taking... beating his time any further? I think he does. Yeah, wow, look at that, 0.8 of a second. That's a very, very impressive lap there. So 0.8 of a second faster than Darrell Taylor as it stands at the moment. A couple of other drivers still yet to set times. James Child is one of them. Again, his second lap didn't count as well. Some more off tracks that came into play there. Paul Clark's just gone up into third, so good performance from Paul Clark. Jamie Bird, his first lap is going to be coming on the cards in a moment. Graham Brown moves up into fifth with his second lap. Is it going to be Jamie Bird? Is his first lap going to count? I should hope so. Yes, it does. It puts him P10 as it stands at the moment. But again, a couple more laps to go. We've got about 4.5 minutes left of qualifying. And then we're moving on into this race. It's close from second down to, I'd say, well, to be fair, the gaps don't really stem more than about 3.5, 4 tenths, all the way from second down into ninth. So it's going to be close in that midfield. But yeah, 8 tenths. Very, very impressive stuff by Luke Maxwell. There it is, Graham Brown in the JPS style Olympus livery. Harking back to the Toyotas of yesteryear. Down into the second to last corner. It's a tricky, complex this. You can use all of that runoff there, but you do have to be careful because it doesn't really give you much warning. That was close as well. That might have been an off track. May have got away with it though. Let's see what happens. Does Graham Brown improve on his side? Yes, he does. Look at that. Goes up to the second place, does Graham Brown, with a 24.88. Luke Maxwell has actually improved his time once again for a 24 dead, almost into the 23s. But Graham Brown does move up into second provisionally. Very, very good stuff. James Child, he moves up into third place. A good, strong third lap from James Child. A couple of the drivers left to go. Dave Dowson is going to come across the line. He'll be on for his third lap. Goes through second last corner again. Doesn't use as much of the curb as we've seen previously used. He will lose a little bit of time for that. Again, he won't be able to carry as much speed through the corner. That will be holding him up somewhat. However, his last lap time was an improvement. It's now a 26.69 for Dave Dowson. A couple of drivers have come in for pits, or have come into the pits, I have noticed. I think Oliver Ettridge, actually, I think Oliver Ettridge is the only person, of which there he is there. You can see him. And what I'd like to do, actually, is just going to quickly ride on board for the remainder of this lap with Oliver Ettridge, just to see how he deals with the car, especially in this midfield section. Let's quickly jump on board. Let's have a listen. There we are. Oliver Etch's time, his third lap does put him 7th on the board. He's a little bit of a ways away from Luke Max. Well, a little bit of a ways away from the top 3. He has had some strong performances at the start of this season. So it'll be interesting to see how he does for the remainder of this race and how he goes through as the race progresses. Very, very close at the front, though, from second and third particularly. Look at that. Only 300 separating James Child and Darrell Taylor. Luke Maxwell has indeed broken into the 23s, and he has since decided that that is his last lap. So he won't be doing another one. About just over a minute to go here. And then we will be wrapping up qualifying. We've had Paula May, he's just gone up into 5th place. Martina Ward has just gone up into 5th as well. So push Paula May down into 6th. Very, very good performance again from Martina Ward. We've got, I think Phil Jocelyn and Mike Buston, they both haven't set times yet, but they are in the session. So that we may see them, we may certainly see them out in the race, but qualifying for them 45 seconds ago, they won't be able to get a lap in anyway. But yeah, really close again in that midfield. Just have a look. We'll bring up the intervals for you as well. And yeah, you can see there the intervals very, very close. That midfield, 3rd down to 12th even, to be fair. No gap exceeding half a second. So keep an eye on for this midfield because it's going to be very, very close. Luke Maxwell, again, very strong performance. Really, really strong lap time. The only person into the 23s by a fair margin as well. 20 seconds left on the clock. So I don't necessarily think anyone's going to be moving forward. No, I think this could actually very well be the final lap times that people have setting yet. So no one is going to be improving on their lap time. So that is everything that is qualifying done and dusted. We'll bring you your full grid results in a few moments. But you can actually see on the left who has provisionally got these positions here. But we'll give you that confirmation when we look at the grid. So Red Bull Ring. It's quite an aggressive circuit, especially on tyres. That midfield section, you don't necessarily get too much scrub within the first few laps. Actually, I can see as well that a few drivers will be allowed, so they are allowed to finish their laps here. So are we going to see any more improvements? James Child, is he going to make an improvement on his lap time? He does not, I believe. No. Couple of drivers. Michael LeMay has moved up. In order, he has jumped up into 8th place. I think that may actually be everyone. Although in saying that, I think Oliver Etcheries, he's got a couple of green sectors in. So has Jamie Bird. Michael LeMay will not be finishing this lap. But Oliver Etcheries got one more corner to go. Can he improve? He has got a couple of personal best sectors. It's not. There's no purple sectors that I can see. Is he going to come across the line and improve? Unfortunately, I don't think he does. No, he does not for that particular lap. So he stays in P10. So he's going to be wanting to move forward, I am sure. So Oliver Etcheries, last person on circuit. And then we're going to be able to change over in a few moments and swap over to the grid and get ready for the race. Yeah, Red Bull Ring, as I was saying, very, very hard on tyres, especially in the final sector. The tyres really, you can lean on the tyres quite a lot. And you've got to be careful. We know with this car, as we've been speaking about it for several weeks now, you know, the past 5 weeks, and speaking to drivers and whatnot, you've got to be careful on the front of the tyres. Because the front of the tyres can go very, very quickly if you're not careful. And that also leads then into you wanting to get the rear to rotate. That then leads you to push on the rear more. Then before you know it, your tyres can go really, really... your tyres can go one way or another, and they can really drop off very, very quickly. We may see that towards the end of this race. Again, the last couple of the whole last sector, you've got to be very, very cautious. Grid is just about to change over, and in fact, here we go. So here is your grid. Luke Maxwell takes that pole position. James Child second, Darrell Taylor in third, Paul Clark in fourth, Martina Ward fifth, Paul LeMay sixth, Graham Brown in P7, Michael LeMay in eighth, Jamie Bird ninth, Oliver Etcheridge in P10, Colin Wynn 11th, and then Graham Brown taking P12. A little bit further down, we have Damien G 13th, Dave Dowson 14th, Mike Busson in 15th, and Phil Jocelyn in 16th, who neither of those two set a lap time. But hopefully we are going to see them on the grid. Drivers just making their way onto the grid, ready for round number 5 of the Radical Race Series. Been a fantastic season so far. Hasn't been the grid size that we have seen, but obviously then we do have a couple of drivers, Simon Edwards, Matt Hutchinson, etc. Paul Crabb also as well that are not attending this particular round. So that is something to bear in mind. People, Luke Maxwell can gain some very, very good points here. With the pace that he has got, he could probably, again, just drive at that 95%, at least at the start of the race. If someone tries to overtake, anything can happen here, as we all know. But Luke Maxwell is in a very, very strong position here to take a lot of points. We'll have to see if he is able to do that. While we just get ready, let's have a quick look at that at the championship standings again. So there we go, 128 points to 115. Lights are on. When are they going to go out? They should be in a few moments. And here we go. Race number 5 is underway. It's a good start for a couple of drivers. Very good start for Luke Maxwell, but also an equally good start for James Child. Darrell Taylor, I thought he was going to try and go around the outside. In fact, he is going to go around the outside. Good move there for Darrell Taylor. James Child just couldn't quite get it, couldn't quite get the speed going through into turn 1. So really, really good stuff there by Darrell Taylor, just capitalising on the slightly slower start that James Child had. coming down through turn 2, which is now officially recognised as a corner by the FIA. Down into turn 3. That was James Child going very wide. Who else gets through? Does everyone get through okay? There's a couple of drivers that have gone a bit wide, but everyone managed to get through. Now, the run down into turn 4. This is going to be an interesting one. James Child under pressure a little bit from Darryl Taylor, who has got past. I wonder if James Child had a little bit of a slow... Must have had a slow exit on 3. He goes through. It's going to be Darryl Taylor, possibly round the outside. No, actually, he slots it up the inside. So, sorry, that's Martina Ward. Apologies, I was looking completely the wrong way. Martina Ward is now up into P3, travels round the outside, down into 5. Then you've got turn 6. A very, very tricky corner here. It's a long corner. Got to make sure patience is key here. Martina Ward has very comfortably just grabbed 3rd place there, and has already pulled about half a second on Graham Brown, who was already... Graham Brown's up 3 positions as well. He started in P7. He's now up into 4th place. James Child, unfortunately, has gone backwards. He started, obviously, in 2nd. He's now down in 5th. A little bit further down the order. It's all single file at the moment, at least for the time being. 16 laps of this race. We're already just past lap 1. Oliver Etridge, he's got what seems to be a good run on Michael LeMay coming down into turn 1. Is it going to be something where a move is going to be made? He goes for the lunge. He does make it. Yeah, good move there. Manages to actually hang Michael LeMay out to dry a little bit, so that would have cost him on exit. Oliver Etridge is very much now able to push forward. There is the rear cam from Oliver Etridge, and I think Jamie Bird, a little bit further up ahead, is going to have a bit of a battle with James Child. That was a big lock up there for Martina Ward, unfortunately, so that would have been a couple of positions lost. So going from 3rd to P5, manages, though, to keep it all pointing in a straight line, which is the main thing. You can always come back from a little lock up like that. You have to be careful again with this car, especially as it's on cold tyres, but a small little mistake there, nothing major to worry about. Oliver Etridge flashing the lights at Paul Clark then. I wonder if there was I don't know what actually happened there, but Paul Clark capitalising on a possible move there from Oliver Etridge. He has dropped down 3 positions, though he started in P4, so he's dropped down the order a little bit, and with the way that Oliver Etridge is driving, really, he's pretty aggressive at the moment. He wants to get past, he wants that P7, which this is the battle for P7. He gets a good run. Paul Clark didn't get a particularly good run coming down out of 7. Oh, that's close. Turn 9 negotiated. Oliver Etridge, he's going to be on the inside. No, he's not. I thought there was going to be a move there, but he gets a very, very clean run. Probably takes an off track because of that. Tries to carry as much speed as he can. There's going to be no move coming down into turn 1, but there might be move coming down into turn 3. Breaking up the hill. Gravity working with you here for turn 1. He gets a very strong exit. This could very well be a move here. We'll have to see. Is he going to get the run? He's right on the gearbox of Paul Clark. He pulls to the outside, so Clark is going to make him go the long way round. Who is going to be last? The late breakers coming down into 3. It's going to be Paul Clark. Takes a very, very tight line, but Oliver Etridge jumps over the curb. That would have cost him a little bit of time, but not as much as Paul Clark. He's now dropped down into 8th place, and he might be hounded by Michael LeMay here. I think Michael LeMay's going to try and have a look round the outside, possibly. A switchback manoeuvre maybe, but no, Paul LeMay's decided that he wants to look up the inside of turn 4. Could this be a move? I think it is. Yeah, Paul LeMay does overtake brother Michael LeMay. The two brothers racing cars, but Michael LeMay switches straight back. They're going to go side by side. That's the spin out in front. Couldn't quite see who that was. I think Jamie Bird has gone off, and I can see, yeah, Jamie Bird has dropped down the order, so could have been a lock-up, a little bit of grass maybe cut, and that sent the rear of the car around. Bit of a shame. If so, up the front, I think it is going to be... It is indeed. Graham Brown making a very, very good move on Darryl Taylor, and that is quite a fair... more of the track used than I think is technically allowed. But both Graham Brown and Darryl Taylor used all of the track and a little bit more. So they both didn't necessarily gain anything on each other. But Graham Brown does make the move, coming down into 9. And Graham Brown now is in 2nd place. A couple of instances have happened a little bit further down. Damien G and Colin Wynn have had some instances, so we'll have a look at those a little bit further down. This is Phil Jocelyn having a little bit of issues, I think, with a bit of netcode there, which isn't ideal. Graham Brown, his car has certainly seen better days, so we'll see if we can get a replay of that. Colin Wynn has also had another spin I can see in the background, and what my information is telling me. So Graham Brown's car looking a bit worse for wear. Certainly has seen better days, but we'll see if we can get a replay of that. The field has spread out because of that, in all honesty. I will admit. So, and I think James... Oh, that was James Child that's had a spin coming down into turn 4. I wonder if there was a bit of contact Possibly between James Child, we'll have to see. Again, we're queuing a few replays up to have a look in a few moments. But meanwhile, Michael LeMay and Paul Clark are having a really, really good battle. Seems to be one of the closest battles at the moment. Then Mike Busson, he's only a couple of positions behind. Bear in mind, he started all the way down in 15th place, second from last, and he's up into 8th. So he's really motoring along, capitalising on the, capitalising on the incidents and also capitalising on people battling. He's able to catch up. So this is his battle currently, the battle for 6th place. It's a three-way battle at the moment with Mike Busson bringing up the rear. If he can get a good run on Michael LeMay through turn 1, which he does seem to. This might be a move. He gets a very good run, in fact, so much so that he might even make the move before you even get to turn 2. He's actually ahead. It's going to be last the late breakers. You might just be able to see. There it is. There's Mike Busson there. Slightly tighter line, though, from the number 16. So, unfortunately, Michael LeMay, the 777, can't quite capitalise on the additional drive he would have got through turn 3 with the slightly wider line. Well, now we've got a tiny bit of breathing room, so let's see what happened with a couple of incidents. The first one actually was Jamie Bird. So let's see what happened with Jamie Bird as he comes off of... I just realised we may have moved away. Yeah, Jamie Bird just loses it on the rear of the car. Well, we do have a bit of a battle. That's a very, very big battle. We've got front row seats here. Michael LeMay is watching Mike Busson just overtake Paul Clark. So Mike Busson now up 9 positions. The biggest mover, the biggest positive mover as it stands. Up now into P6. He does have a bit of a run to go, though. He's got 4 seconds to catch up to Oliver Ettridge. And the way that Paul Clark is driving, he wants that position back. Goes a little bit wide, though, on the exit of 9. This is where, again, the downforce won't be playing into his hands because he would lose a bit because he has got Mike Busson in front of him. Michael LeMay, again, feeling the effects of the lack of downforce. So that will be costing him a little bit of time as well. You can see the gap has opened up. But coming now down into turn 1, if he gets a clean run, he will be able to pull a little bit of time back. So again, now we do have a bit of breathing room here. So we saw what happened to Jamie Bird. Let's see what happened a little bit further down. This is what happened to... Oh, this is the grey and brown. So just up the inside of turn 9. Yep, fair enough. Damien G and then Colin Wynn, I believe they both come into contact. It's just going to be a little bit... Does it last the late breakers? A little bit too late? Oh, that's a big, big shame. That's what happened to Graham Brown. But Damon G lost the rear of the car. And unfortunately, that was a Colin Wynn, I think, was also a passenger in that as well. So, unfortunate there. What happened to Mike Busson as we go, which Mike Busson has just... This is literally just happened, I think. This has happened on that lap. As we came and looked at the replays, again, just loses it on the rear. We saw that at VIR. Unfortunately, it's interesting. I mean, it comes across the track with no one there, luckily. I would imagine he would have seen that anyway. So, yeah, Mike Busson, that literally must have happened as we came off going down into 3. So, Mike Busson, unfortunately, has to do it all over again. He's done it once. There's no reason to say he won't do it again. As we come halfway through this race, it's a little bit tricky now because the gaps have opened up. So that's something to take into consideration. But it should mean that, well, he does have the pace. Last lap was I think, lap time-wise, he's been in the 25s, 24s as well. So he certainly does have pace. Gaps have opened up a little bit, admittedly. We have got a couple of battles on the go. The battle for P2 actually is very much still on the cards as it stands. Graham Brown has pulled a bit of a gap from Darrell Taylor, but Martina Ward is there certainly as well. So a small little mistake could put everyone right back into contention. A bit further down, though, Oliver Ettridge, he finally tries to make the move on Paul LeMay. Is he going to make it stick? He does. Sorry, that was Paul LeMay on Paul Clark. Paul Clark, though, gets the run. He gets the cut back down into 4. Is he going to make the move down into 5? He tries to go on the outside. Can't quite do it, though. Doesn't have the downforce at the moment. Michael LeMay is sitting here and he's just watching the battle unfold. Paul LeMay goes a little bit wide. That will allow Paul Clark. He gets a much, much better run, but he can't quite carry the speed, though, through turn 8. Or can he, though? He takes a slightly defensive... That's possibly a defensive line. Oh, that would have cost Paul Clark quite a bit of time. There goes and runs wide. That could open the door for Michael LeMay. It does not. I thought it was going to do something then. It's the one problem. If you're going to commit to that slightly more aggressive line, it's normally when you do want to be either going into a slower corner, a hairpin or something. A fast corner like that, it will cost you quite a bit more time there because, again, you just won't be able to carry as much speed through. Admittedly, Paul Clark did run wide to try and keep up the momentum, but even so, would have lost a little bit of time there. So a four-way battle, though, because you've got Phil Jocelyn that's just sitting there in the background. He's just watching everything unfold again in front of him. Right? Oh, no, that's not good. So Michael LeMay and Paul Clark have both had a coming together. That is certainly not what you want as well. There is Michael LeMay, and I think just tagged the rear of... Paul Clark. We'll see if we can get a replay of that with Phil Jocelyn and Mike Busson are side by side. So Mike Busson, again, capitalising on the fact that he has got more battles in front of him and he does make the move sticks. Next on his radar is Paul Clark. Oh, he's very nearly backed up to where he was pre-spin. That's someone else that's gone off. Who was that? That's Michael LeMay again. Obviously, tyres a little bit too warm now after they do take about a lap to cool down, in all honesty. Once you have an instant like that, a brake lock-up or something, the tyres are really, really warm and they do take a little bit of time to cool down, which certainly isn't, it's not ideal if you are trying to push the car, especially in a racing scenario. Halfway point has been passed, though. So currently your top 5, Luke Maxwell, Graham Brown, Darrell Taylor, Martina Ward and Oliver Ettridge. The closest battle, one of the closest battles, is the one we are watching now, which is the battle for 7th. You've got Paul Clark, Mike Busson, Phil Jocelyn and Jamie Bird involved in that. Let's see what happened, though, just a lap ago. So Paul Clark, you can just see him there, and I wonder, is there going to be a tag? Well, there definitely was a tag from... Apologies, that was the replay was completely messed up there. That was my fault. Let's try and watch that again from the correct camera angle. So, yeah, we can see that Michael LeMay, I think he just, brakes very, very late, to be fair. There's no way he was going to stop that. Does try to take avoiding action. Paul Clark does the right thing, though, in all honesty, and just holds the brake. Lets the car, get to a position where he can then release the brake, and then off he goes. So he doesn't actually lose, in terms of positions, excuse me, in terms of positions, he doesn't actually lose any. However, he does lose time, obviously, to Paul LeMay, that's now a couple of seconds up the road. So that is the current replay update for you there. Mike Busson is very much chasing down Paul Clark. Well, he's on the gearbox of Paul Clark. Paul LeMay, he's 2.3 seconds up the road. Something's happened to Darrell Taylor. We've just been... I wonder, could that possibly have been a slowdown for Darrell Taylor? It might very well have been, because Martina Ward now gets promoted up into 3rd place. So I wonder, was there a particular... I think there may have been. We'll have to see if we can find that. Here's Darrell Taylor. Let's have a quick look on board and see if we can find any positions where an off-track would have been given. The only place I could think of is if it's too much of a cut on the inside of turn 10 or possibly too wide on 9. He's chasing Graham Brown down, who did have a little bit of an off. Doesn't seem to be anything through there. That would be where the off-track would come in, I would imagine. Yeah, pulls along, recognises it straight away, does the right thing. And that is that. He has actually got past Martina Ward again. So let's see if we can have a look at what happened there. I wonder if that was possibly... I don't actually know where... I'm not being given any information on that overtake. So possibly Martina Ward may have run a little bit wide, but there was nothing that the... There was nothing that the timing tower is actually giving us. In terms of... Actually, here we go. I believe this might be the replay here. Here it is. Yeah, so a slightly slow exit for Martina Ward by the looks on the exit of turn 3. And Darrell Taylor round the outside for turn 4. Good move there. So once again, these two battling very, very hard here. Mike Busson has had another incident that I have seen on the timing tower. It has told me that Mike Busson, yep, there's been another incident. So he has unfortunately dropped back down to 12th. Is it a loss of rear... brakes again? I think it might be. Might be too aggressive on... Oh, no. It's such an unlucky move there. So unlucky. You've got to be so careful on those sausage curbs. Another reason why sausage curbs should be absolutely banned is because in a very, very low car, very, very short wheelbase car like this, there is, it's very stiff suspension as well. Absolutely no saving something like that. The way you hit it, it's so awkward. If you hit it slightly the wrong way, that is it. Done and dusted. Big shame there. James Child, that was Phil Jocelyn, I think, had a slightly slow exit going on. I think Phil Jocelyn, unfortunately, he's still having a little bit of connection issues. But hopefully they are resolved. Hopefully he's able to maintain this position for the remainder of the race. Damien G, though, holding off Mike... sorry, that is... yeah, Damien G holding off... James Child, sorry, holding off Damien G. There we go, got it right in the end. Mike Buston, yes, so he's down into... Oh, another spin for Mike Buston. No, that again, hot, warmer tyres. Again, just can't quite get the tyres to cool down. I think, unfortunately, Mike Buston has decided that he might have damage, actually, somewhere. I don't know if that's if going over the sausage curb on the exit of 3 would have damaged the car. It might have done. Didn't look like it, although the rear did let go relatively quickly through there. So there possibly would have been maybe a tiny bit of damage, suspension damage or something along those lines. Something like that could have affected the rear of the car. Either way, not good. And that unfortunately means that Mike Buston is out of this particular race, or at least in a position where he won't be getting any points. He does seem to be back out on circuit though, so I wonder if he is... yeah, may have been. Or he's in the pit. I wonder if there was some damage, perhaps. That would be my only thing of note there, is if there was, just perhaps a little tiny bit of damage. Either way, unfortunate, nevertheless. What's happened here? This is a bit of a battle going on here. James Child, Phil Jocelyn, and Damien G. So, Phil Jocelyn has lost a position to James Child. Is he going to lose another position to Damien G? Again, still all those connection issues. But I think he might lose this position. He tries to squeeze. Very, very aggressive squeeze there on Damien G. And he manages to hold the position. Good battling between these two. This is allowing James Child to drive away from the pair of them at this stage, which isn't ideal. Well, not particularly for Damien G, who was running very, very close with James Child. Possibly a move on the inside of turn 9. Is he alongside? No, he's not. Again, that will cost him a little bit of time there as he goes through down into the final corner. He might have a run here. Looks like he is going to have a run. You can see there, again, Phil Jocelyn taking the inside line, taking the defensive line. He'll move across back over to the circuit, but doesn't move over enough. This is going to be possibly a done deal if we can get a good, very, very good exit. A little bit of a slide there for Damien G. That would have cost him a little bit of time. Unfortunately, if he hadn't have had that slide, he would have got that position because he had a much, much better line going through turn 1. But he does get a good run down into 3 and last of the late breakers. Who is it going to be? It's slightly later for Damien G. Is he going to get the cutback? Doesn't quite. Can't get the car stopped in time, though. So that has cost him. Meanwhile, a little bit further up the front, we've got side-by-side between Oliver Ettridge and Daryl Taylor. Very, very good stuff. So Daryl Taylor is defending quite aggressively. Well, he's now having to defend quite aggressively from Martina Ward, because Oliver Ettridge up 7 positions. Bear in mind he started P10. He's now in a podium position. Martina Ward, that's a very, very brave move on the second to last corner. Can't quite make it stick though. But points for trying, 100%. A little bit wide. Daryl Taylor goes a little bit wide again. Is it going to be a slowdown? It doesn't seem to be this time. No, it isn't. So Oliver Ettridge, he's already pulled 6/10 per second out of Daryl Taylor. This could very well be the battle that Ettridge wants, because as soon as Taylor and Ward battle a little bit more, that is going to be the system allow Oliver Ettridge to pull forward and drive on up the road. 2 more laps left to go, actually. This race has gone very, very quickly. So around about 24-25 minute race, as we usually see. Clean exit from all drivers. Little bit of a slower exit by the looks of it from Ettridge. Or slower entry, but he does manage to get a very, very good exit. But Daryl Taylor didn't get a particularly good exit. This is going to allow Martina Ward to come up the inside of turn 4. Is it going to be a move? It's late on the brakes for Martina Ward. Is it going to be a bit too late? No. Surprisingly, I thought it looked like the car was pushing on a little bit. But Martina Ward did an absolutely perfect job of keeping that car in check, even though it did go a tiny bit wide. And she was also on the inside, going down into turn 4, which is never an easy thing as the track drops away from you. So wonder if tyres, maybe Daryl Taylor's tyres just can't quite keep up. Might have been pushing his tyres a little bit harder. Again, this is where they start to drop off, and it's quite a big drop off as well. The couple of races that I've done, I have noticed that if you don't look after your tyres, they really, really do drop off in the final 2 laps, even the final lap. You've got to be very, very careful. But it does mean that Oliver Ettridge has pulled a 1.1 second gap on Martina Ward. So this is one of the 2 battles that we've got currently on circuit. And another one being a little bit further down the order. Phil Jocelyn, Damien G. James Child still there or thereabouts. He's a second up the road, 8/10 up the road from Damien G. So can Damien G get the move? He has obviously passed Phil Jocelyn. Is he going to be able to catch up to Damien G? To James Child. I don't know. With the pace that both of these guys have had, I think James Child, they've been relatively similar on pace. But I think it's going to be James Child that is going to manage to hold this off. He's got 0.8 of a gap at the moment with only 2 laps to go. So it could very well be that he manages, as to say, just needs to run his normal race. A little bit wide on the entry of 3. Misses the apex by a bit. Not the end of the world, though. You can still, if anything, sometimes easier to miss the curb there. You do get a slightly better row, especially for really, really stiff suspension cars such as this. So manages to get still a very, very good run. This is one of the bad... One person we haven't seen, actually. Luke Maxwell, coming on to the final lap. He's been driving. He's got a 10-second gap going onto this final race. 10 seconds. So if he can... Just needs to maintain this for another lap. And then he'll be getting a very, very strong point score. Bear in mind, again, no Simon Edwards, no Paul Crabb, no Dom Langwebb, no John Hutchinson. So really, really pushing the boundaries, really, really moving forward in terms of position. So this will put him into the lead of the championship. Not by a massive amount, but by 10 or 15 points or so. So it will put him ahead. So actually, it will put him a little bit further ahead than that. 20-odd points, I believe, if my math is correct. It'll be 20 points plus. So as we're leading down into the halfway point, it could very well be a pivotal turning point as well. We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, got another 6 weeks to go, so a lot can happen yet. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of races where Simon Edwards, Paul Crabb, and co will be back, which is certainly going to be very, very exciting for us. Few more corners to go for Luke Maxwell. What's actually happening here? Phil Jocelyn goes for a very, very last-minute send on Damien G. Damien G gets a slightly better run, though, so we'll come back to that. But 2 more corners to go for Luke Maxwell. And then we're going to see him take the checkered flag. 1 more corner. Goes probably a little bit wide. A little bit too wide there, but manages to keep it all okay. Luke Maxwell taking round 5 victory. Very, very impressive stuff. Led from flag to finish. Really, really impressive effort. Well done indeed. Darrell Taylor is going to be finishing just behind Martina Ward. This is one of the other battles that we've got. As they come onto the last corner, there we go. And then Damien G can't quite catch up to Phil Jocelyn. He tried to have a move going down into turn 4. Wasn't able to make the move stick. Again, Phil Jocelyn manages to hold it even with the connection issues. And he'll be coming across the line 10th and 11th for... 10th for Jocelyn and 11th for Damien G. A couple of drivers left to go, and then we will be getting you the official race results, and then we will be also hopefully having a chat with a few of our drivers. Again, we'll wait for everyone to finish. We'll get your full grid results, but another very, very good race. A new track for these cars, a new track for this race series, or a new track and car combo for this race series in the new SR10. But it's certainly been it's been received well, I think, this car, which is probably the best way to put it. There's always been, Simon Evans, I know, has been talking about it a lot, the fact he just can't quite get the front end to work. He has taken 2 wins as well, bear in mind. So he obviously is getting more used to it, but it still doesn't feel quite comfortable. It's definitely the thing you notice. The old SR8 you used to drive on the rear. The new SR8, you very much have to wait for the front. You can drive it, or you have to drive it on the front of the car. It is very hard to get rotation, and when rotation is there, it can sometimes be, as we have seen, it can be a little bit too much on occasion. But race results here as everyone makes their way into the pits. Luke Maxwell takes the race win. Graham Brown in 2nd. Oliver Etridge P3. And then Martina Ward, very, very strong performance in P4. Moving a little bit further down the order. Darrell Taylor 5th. Paul LeMay 6th. Jamie Bird in 7th. James Child takes P8. Paul Jocelyn 9th. Damien G P10. Michael LeMay 11th, Dave Dowson 12th, Graham Brown in P13, Paul Clark 14th, Mike Busson in 15th, and then Colin Wynn, Mike Busson actually 6 laps down, unfortunately, so he didn't make it back out on circuit, and then Colin Wynn in 17th. He managed a few laps, and after an early incident at the start, had to retire. So that is your official round number 5 race results. So I'm going to wait a few more moments, and then we will hopefully be able to have a chat with a few of our drivers. Again, very, very good drive indeed. from Luke Maxwell. Luke Maxwell, I mean, that was impressive. Best lap of the race was 4/10 ahead of, I believe that was Graham. So Oliver Etridge actually got the second fastest lap of the race. He got a 24.28. So again, started P10, didn't quite have the qualifying that he would have wanted. But overall, considering, 7 positions up, the actual biggest mover, biggest positive mover with 7 positions gained up in P3. Very impressive stuff. Graham Brown as well, another very, very close lap time. His best with a 24.37. So only a little bit off of Luke Maxwell and Oliver Etridge. He's up 5 positions, started 7th and then finished in 2nd. So really, really strong performances from those guys. And I believe we do have a couple of drivers that we are going to have a chat to. First one I would like to have a chat with is the one and only Luke Maxwell. So, Luke, congratulations on the race win. I mean, to be fair, I think we saw you on the broadcast once. Well, we saw you twice. Once at the start and then once 2 laps from the end. A pretty straightforward race for you, I think, in all honesty.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad, to be fair. I think, I kind of tried to push early on and build up a comfortable gap. I think at about 6 seconds out, I did have a moment in turn 1 a few times, which is easily done on that track. But, overall, I think fairly comfortable this evening without... I think Simon's got a week off of me, so just give me a bit of a respite.
Well, certainly so, and I think, when it comes to, we were talking about this as well, obviously, big hitters, Simon Edwards and so on, that aren't actually, here with us for this particular round. I mean, a strong point to, obviously, this is now you leading the championship, going into the halfway point. This could very well be a, pivotal point. Are we getting more, I'm seeing as well, I'm seeing this across the field, we're getting more used to cars, I think, with this new car as we go.
Yeah, we had an interesting practice earlier on in the week, I think, where a lot of people took the SR10 for the first hour, and then everyone switched to the SR8 for the second hour, and I definitely had much more of an advantage in the SR10 than the SR8. I mean, those guys were really, really quick in that car, so I think it's only a matter of time, really. I managed to find quite a good setup, I think, with this car this week. Had a bit of a practice, and I'm not an expert with setups by any means, but I just kept playing around until things felt comfortable around that track, and it seemed to work quite well.
Good stuff. And I think, to be fair, if it works for you, then it works for you. There's it's not necessarily right or wrong. It's whatever works for you. As you say, drivers will start getting used to it, and this will progress further forward. I think as well, the amount of times that, the amount of season that people have had in the SR8, this is almost, instead of driving it on the rear, you drive it on the front. It's what I've noticed after driving this car a little bit. You have to wait for the front of the car to come in. I think that is an adjustment period for some drivers, but at the same time makes the racing more enjoyable.
Yeah, absolutely. I did do a race a couple of nights ago with which was a mixed field, SR8s and SR10s. Nice. It was very interesting. You had a lot of performance on the straight in the SR8, and the corners the SR8 in the corners was catching up everywhere. So it was quite an interesting mix, to be fair.
I can imagine so. But yeah, Luke, again, really, really well done. Another win on the belt. But yeah, good stuff. Good points all.
Thanks, Daniel.
And we'll catch up with you next week.
Cheers.
In a bit. There we are, Luke Maxwell there. Very, very good performance. Next person we are going to be having a chat with is the one and only Graham Brown. Graham, hopefully you can hear me. Talk us through it. I mean, 5 positions gained. Started in P7, all the way up into finished up in 2nd. Really, really strong performance.
Yeah, it's all kind of stemmed from a bad quali, really. I had my fast lap cancelled from an off track, so put me quite far back the grid, and then I just thought, you know what, I'll just nurse the tyres round. If people overcook the tyres, go a bit wide, I'll take it. I just kept on doing that, and then for quite a while I just couldn't get rid of Darryl. He was just right on me. I might gain a 10th and he'd gain it back, so fair play to Darryl and all the others. That was just rapid today.
It was a very, 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 very enjoyable race to watch. Very, very enjoyable race. I asked this question to Luke, actually. Are we getting more used to this car as well? I think that seems to be the general consensus. I know the SR8 obviously was a joy to drive, but I think people are getting more comfortable with this SR10 with a pretty different driving style.
Yeah, I'm finding you can't brake as hard into the corner, so you got to sort of like ease off, and it just feels unnatural that you're not pushing. But that, and then just taking it easy and letting your tyres warm up and let the pace come to you, I found that's really helped, especially this week.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, the results speak for themselves. It seems to be certainly working for you. Graham, thank you for jumping in with us. Really, really good stuff. Well done on P2, and we'll catch up with you next week.
Thanks, Dan. Catch you next week.
Take care. And then last but not least, we are going to be having a chat with Oliver Ettridge. Ollie, P3, not the qualifying that I imagine we would have wanted. However, all things considered, I mean, P3, 7 positions gained. You're the biggest mover in the field. I think that was overall, considering the qualifying, good result.
Yeah, it was a good result in the end. Qualifying, I don't know what was going on, but my brake pedal just didn't seem to be going past 50%. So I spent a couple of laps trying to fix that, and then managed to get out. And unfortunately, tyres, opposite to how everyone normally complains, were not hot enough for the final run. And then managed to make up some positions during the race and had some good battles throughout.
Absolutely. No, really, really good stuff, I think. And it was, watching you move through the field, definitely got used to the car as the race progressed. And I think that's one thing that people have been saying is especially when it comes to tyres, it's trickier for these tyres to get up to temp. I think that's been the general consensus. And when they do get up to temp, it just generally takes a little bit longer. The SR8 was a bit more, just a little bit more positive on its tyres, whereas the SR10, I think Graham put it very, very well, is the pace has to come to you, I think, to a certain degree.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, these tyres seem to take longer to warm up, and then they warm up too much. But thankfully, I managed to find something in the setup during practice just to reduce the final temperature, so I managed to hold on to the tyres throughout the race this time.
Stuff. Well, I mean, and as the same thing I said to Graham, the results speak for themselves. If it works for you, then it works for you. Really, really well done, Ollie. And congrats on P3. Really good move through the field, and we'll catch up with you next week.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Bye.
So there we go, racing done and dusted for round number 5 of the Radical Race Series. Thank you everyone, as always, for watching and sticking around. It is an absolute pleasure. We look forward to catching up with you next week, where Mr. Ewan O'Leary will be back with us. Thank you for attending, and big thank you again to the organisers, administrators for the Radical Race Series, and also the drivers. Because without the drivers and all the admins and the organisers, it would not be a race series. Very, very good race, very interesting race at Red Bull, as these new cars seem to be providing all of the time, and it's very, very exciting. Leading into the halfway point of this season, what is the next half of the season going to bring? We'll have to wait and see. But we'll catch up with you next week. But as always, everyone, take care, stay safe.